because of the tariffs and all, the economy is going to get worse. People are going to be unemployed or semi-employed. They're not going to be able to afford their homes, and the problem is going to get much, much more severe.
Turn the mics on always. So because here's what I don't do a normal talk show. George,
What do you do?
George Takei. I'm a change agent. I want to
Good
change.
for you.
I want to change people's hearts and minds, and I want to use
For
this
the
platform.
better.
Yeah, I'm a journalist by trade. I was a journalist, but on these airwaves, we need something more. We need people who are going to challenge people to be better, and challenge people to think differently, and challenge people, beyond. Like, it's nice. I love that you're on television, and I love that your social media is amazing, and I love that you're now in this new series called Terror. And let me officially welcome you to the Karen Hunter
Thank
Show.
you very much.
The hottest show in the galaxy. Welcome. George Takei is in the building. Star Trek, all you Trekkers, eat your heart out. Eat your heart out.
Star Trek is 53 years old now.
And
Isn't
you're
that
54.
amazing?
How the hell did you start at 1? How did that
I'm much older than Star Trek.
Actually, your birthday is the same as Hitler's. Did you know that?
I know. I know it. All my life I've known it.
So I'm a Taurus, and I say Hitler is an Aries. even though Taurus starts on the 20th, because he has more Aryan traits. Get it?
Aryan.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
but that's weird. Don Mattingly is also born in your birthday, so that's
And
a good
you
thing.
know what?
What?
Columbine happened on my birthday
4/20.
because it's his birthday.
Right.
I've always been telling my mother, she's gone now, but and I love her dearly, but I said, Mama, why didn't you hold me in just
One more
a little
day.
bit longer?
One more day.
Or strenuously push me out a day earlier? Why did you give me birth and life on the 20th of April?
Let me just say this. It's also the day that people celebrate marijuana.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know
420 is a great weed holiday for those of you who partake in that. But here's the thing, the vibration, that can go either way, because I'm also a Taurus. So I say the thing
We're
about...
on the cusp.
Yeah, well, I'm a full-fledged bull. But the thing about that is that can go either way, right? Saddam Hussein, Malcolm X, you can be, if there's a drive there that is undeniable, and there's also an indomitable will that is undeniable when your head is down and you can't be stopped. And I look at somebody that was in a Japanese internment camp as
No.
No, your
No,
parents.
no.
I read this.
No. Let
That's
me
a lie?
correct you. No, let me teach you English.
Teach me.
Japanese internment camps in English means it would be run by the government of Japan.
Okay. American
If you know
concentration
English,
camps for Japanese.
We are
Americans.
Americans. We were Americans of Japanese ancestry, ordered by the President of the United States to be imprisoned in the United States in 10 prison camps. Ours happened to be in Arkansas. There were 2 in the blistering hot desert of Arizona, the cold, windswept high plains of Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, Colorado, some of the most God-forsaken places in this country, and guarded over by the U.S. military, U.S. Army. That is an American concentration camp, not a Japanese internment camp.
I accept the correction.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the education.
No, it's been driving me up the wall. For the last 75 years, the media, American media, keeps saying Japanese internment camps in the newspapers, on television, on radio, Japanese internment camps. And it's been part of my mission in life to correct these people's use of the English language.
It's important. I have had, since being on this radio show, I've been here 5 years, had to change something that I've been saying my whole entire life. I had to stop calling people slaves and call them enslaved human beings.
That's right. Absolutely.
Enslaved people.
That's right.
And it's a little thing, but language and words are powerful. And they get inculcated into our spirit, and it becomes a thing that we become desensitized. Because if it's a thing that is not said properly, then we accept it.
We have a mission to teach English to people.
Listen, I love it. So 1942, your dad, who was a successful real estate person?
No, he was a successful high-end dry cleaning store owner, business
Okay,
owner.
all right. Your mother born here,
My mother was born in
American,
Sacramento,
right?
California.
You're born here. 1942 happens, Pearl Harbor. Can you walk me through the change in your life? Like, was it overnight? Was it gradual? You know, when we talk about Nazi Germany, it was Kristallnacht. Was that moment where neighbors turned on neighbors and it just spiraled from there? What was that moment for
It
you?
wasn't to that degree, but there were all the elements that preceded the incarceration. The media uh, characterized us in terms of stereotypes. We were either servants or buffoons or evil villains. Uh, any radio show of that time or movies or
Breakfast at
stage plays.
Tiffany's.
Oh, that was
That
after
came
the
later,
war,
right? I'm
much,
just
much
thinking
later.
about Mickey
But
Rooney playing
in the old days,
right.
it was country, like even the opera, operetta, the Mikado, which means the emperor. But they had funny names like that sounded more Chinese than Japanese. Nanki Poo, Yum Yum, I mean, little, all that leads up to we're different, we're other, we're laughable, or we're servants, or we're to be avoided,
So we need
because we're
media
dangerous.
and we
And
need
then,
art, right? So I'm just thinking as you're talking, Birth of a Nation for me was
right,
that
exactly.
moment of dehumanizing Black people for history, and that was one of
Throughout
the
history.
throughout history, right? So you characterize Black people sexually lascivious, criminals. They're greedy. They're childlike. All of these
In
things,
slavery, they're happy.
right?
They're always laughing and singing songs
Right. And then
entertaining
Disney,
people.
right? Disney showed us
Right.
it in a different way. So for
Exactly.
you, the media in television and movies did the same thing, which is to
Absolutely.
get people okay with dehumanizing you.
Exactly.
So
And so it was easy when Pearl Harbor happened to suspect us of being spies or saboteurs or fifth columnists, a threat to national security. It was easy to do that because they really didn't know us. They they saw us in terms of these dehumanized stereotypes, and this country was swept up with war. I mean, it was terrifying. Pearl Harbor, great battleships sunk suddenly by surprise, and they were sneaky, and they looked like us. We were at war with Germany and with Italy too,
right.
but Italian Americans and German Americans looked like the rest of America. It was easy to see us as the enemy because we had been stereotyped, and now this horrible thing happens, and we're all panicked. We're hysterical, war hysteria, and confused, and we need to blame someone or something. And we look exactly like the people that bombed Pearl Harbor. And the President of the United States says that all Japanese Americans on the West Coast have to be summarily rounded up with no charges, no trial. Due process, the central pillar of our justice system, disappeared. And that one terrifying morning, my parents got my brother. I was 5. I just turned 5. It was a few weeks after my 5th birthday, April 20th, 1942. Got me up with my brother. He was 4 years old, and our baby sister was not even a year old. She was a baby infant. Got us up early, dressed us hurriedly, and my brother and I were told to wait in the living room while our parents did some last-minute packing in the bedroom. And so the two of us were just gazing out the front window
Of a home that you grown up in,
of the home
that you guys owned.
Pay mortgage on it, yeah.
I'm glad you made that distinction.
Oh yes, we didn't own it yet.
If you owned it, would it have been a different situation? No, right? If you had owned the home that you were in and didn't,
it would not have been.
Would not have mattered.
It would not have mattered. So we were just gazing out the front window. Suddenly, we see 2 soldiers marching up our driveway. They carried rifles with shiny bayonets on them. They stomped up the porch, and with their fists began pounding on the front door. To us, it was terrorizing. I mean, we're kids. It felt like the walls of the house were shaking. My father came out and answered the door, and literally at gunpoint, we were ordered out of our house. My father gave my brother and me little packages to carry. He hefted 2 heavy suitcases, and we followed him out and stood on the driveway while they were dealing with my mother. And when she finally came out, she had our baby sister in one arm, a huge duffel bag in the other, and tears were streaming down her cheeks. It was a terrorizing morning for us. We were taken from our home, 2-bedroom home, front yard, backyard, garage, Garnet Street, to Santa Anita Racetrack. You know, the camps were being built. Santa Anita Racetrack, herded over with other Japanese Americans to the stable area, and each family was assigned a horse stall to sleep in. The stink of horse manure was still pungent. For my parents, it was degrading, dehumanizing, and disgusting to take their 3 children into this smelly horse stall. For me, as a 5-year-old kid, I thought it was fun to sleep where the horses sleep. 2 parallel, different stories, same experience. We had to bathe in the horse paddock. The men know it's outdoors. Men showered, and I went with my father and my brother, and then the women went. We lived like that for about 4 months, and then the construction of the camps were finished, and we were put on trains with armed soldiers at both ends of each car and transported 2/3 of the way across the country to the swamps of Arkansas. And I tell this story. We need to reach everybody, and we did a Broadway musical. There've been movies about it. I've lectured at universities all around the country, and we founded a museum. But still, there are people that I consider well-informed people. When I tell them about my childhood imprisonment, they're shocked that something like this happened in the United States. We need to reach more people. And the reason why I decided on this graphic memoir idea, comic strips. I grew up on comic strips. And I remember, when you're a teenager, you're just absorbing in information, and you grow up with it, and it stays with you. And so I'm hoping to reach the future Americans, the future leaders, the future voters who grow up knowing this story. And so we produced this graphic memoir. They called us enemy. I was categorized as an enemy alien when I was incarcerated.
5 years old.
5 years old, a threat to national security, and an alien when we were born here. My mother was born here. My father was raised here, educated here. He spoke Japanese and English fluently, and yet we were a threat to national security and alien. And so we want the future of America to be a better one, because my story of 75 years ago is so chillingly relevant today in this fraught society that we're living in. And we've reached a new low because we were always together with our parents. What we, in the name of this country, of America, are tearing children, innocent children, away from people seeking asylum. I mean, asylum is a right. It is legal, despite this ignorant orangutan that's living in the White House. He says it's illegal. It is not illegal. Asylum is legal. And they're tearing the children away from them and putting them in these smelly, grotesque cages with human waste in them. And to really underscore the evil in this, they're taking some of these children and scattering them in the outer reaches of the United States from the southern borders, Minnesota, Wisconsin, New Jersey.
What do you think that's about? Because it makes no sense.
It's cruelty.
No, it's beyond cruel. It
It's
makes no
evil.
logical sense, though. Like, there has to be some reason why you would take a child who can't speak away from a parent who doesn't speak English, that you know they'll never be reunited, and send them someplace away from any relative. That makes, and then keep no records. Even the Nazis kept records.
That's right.
Why aren't they keeping records?
They can't put them together again when the courts
Right.
ordered them to.
So why? I don't understand it.
Because you're a humanist. We don't understand that. They are evil. They are destroying human lives in their infancy
To
or
what
childhood.
end, though? What's the financial gain? What's the, like, how do we benefit as a society? Like, I don't.
Their lives are shortened. That's, I mean, the only logical way of thinking. But the humanitarian thing is the farthest thing from what they're doing. We humanists connect with them, and we are torn by their suffering.
But there's
They
so many
are
Americans
evil
that
people.
are at rallies that are okay with this, that would pull
That's
another,
right.
would pull a lever again for Donald Trump with this, that they think immigrants are coming here and they're destroying this country, and they look at these human beings who would walk thousands of miles. I don't know what that would be like, to walk thousands of miles with my children. What horror am I running away from? Like, that's all I'm thinking. Like, what horror am I running away from?
Some
that
of
I
these
could walk?
women have seen their husbands killed in front of them. They are terrorized and running for
For
their
lives
lives.
to come here where everyone says this is the place. Give us your tired, you're hungry, your huddled masses. This is the place that you come when you,
Exactly.
only to end up having your kids snatched,
Torn
you're in a
away from you.
cage, or worse, you end up dying in a puddle of water
That's right.
trying to get here.
It's horrific. And they're doing this in the name of our country, and we will not tolerate that, and we will do everything we can to bring it to an end.
Well, 145,000 people had the same situation in the 1940s. You were one of them. You would think history would.
120,000 actually.
Well, 145,000 Japanese Americans and Japanese Canadians
Oh, that's right.
as
yeah.
well were
Yeah.
forced
Japanese
into
Canadians.
these American concentration camps.
Well, they were in Canadian concentration
Okay.
camps. And the irony is, we shot the terror infamy in Vancouver, and we built the internment camp in the outer
Wow.
forests of Vancouver. And that's where many of us learned for the first time that the same thing happened to Japanese Canadians, but it was worse simply because it was Canada. It's much colder. I mean, it was bitter, harsh. And, we were freed when the war ended, 1945.
You got to go back to your house? Was your house still there?
It's gone. They took everything from us.
They didn't give it back? They didn't give you back your...
Are you kidding?
What happened to the mortgage? George,
It was they took everything, and they gave us when we were freed a one-way ticket to anywhere in the United States plus $25. We were supposed to start life all over again on $25.
a family of 5.
A family of no, each one of us.
$25 a piece still. That's $125.
Yeah, exactly. Our first home was on Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles. In the chaos, the stench, the horror, smelly, ugly, scary people staggering around, fighting each other, shouting and brawling, women shrieking and pulling hair, and the stench.
You remember it?
Oh, I do. I mean, it's still there today. I mean, when
Skid
you walk
Row
through
is still Skid Row.
it smells. I mean, the stench is intense, and the sounds, the chaos. Sirens going day and night, and I began school, and teachers calling me the Jap boy. The teacher is calling me the Jap boy. I mean, it was horrific. This was freedom to us. Poverty-stricken, living on Skid Row with all of the horrors, and the smell. And our room was on the second floor, and I'd spent my life never going up higher than a porch. And so even climbing the stairs was to us. I mean, I remember clinging on to the railing.
Like, what's going to happen? Yeah.
The uncertainty was a scary thing. What's going to happen the next hour or the next 10 minutes? Another fight might begin. It was terrifying.
Are your siblings as successful as you are?
They're all retired too. My sister, baby sister, became a school teacher. She's now retired. My brother became a dentist. He's now retired. I'm the oldest, and I'm still working because I don't know what to do with retirement.
I was going to say, are you really working? Is this really work or is this passion?
This is my passion, and this is what I'm an actor. But I also have a mission, and it's not complete.
So tell us about Terror. The first season, I started watching it, and it spooked me out. It's on the sea, on the high seas, and one of my favorite actors from the TV show Outlanders in it. So I was like, I'm gonna watch it, and then I was like, everything on the sea it's dramatic, it's scary, it was just too much, and you have to pay attention, right? And I don't have time to pay attention, so I tapped out. But season 2, tell me the difference between season 1 and season 2, and how did you come into Terror? The infamy.
Well, the whole setup is anthology. So the first season is a whole
completely different
story. And that was about the British sailors go in the Arctic and coming across horrific experiences. Ours is in the 20th century, 2000 or 1940s, during the Second World War. A Japanese American community, which was a unique Japanese American community. These people came from the Wakayama province, which is a southern coastal province. They're fishermen. And when they immigrated to the United States, they did the kind of thing that they're accustomed to doing, fishing. And so they settled on a small island in Los Angeles Harbor called Terminal Island, and they were
Sounds
in fishing.
Brave.
Terminal.
It's the end.
It's the
right?
end.
Yeah, right.
But it's also the station where things, the destination, and that was what was meant. Is today L.A. Harbor, and the island is now one of those places where cargo things are piled up. But that used to be a Japanese American fishing community. And there was a sense of community. And for me as an actor, it was fun to do this role. I speak Japanese fluently as well as naturally English.
Was that important?
There's a lot of Japanese dialogue.
Was that important? Because a lot of people, when they come here, and particularly when they go through something, your name is George. Mm-hmm. That's not your birth name.
That's right.
Right. So we Americanize ourselves, and then a lot of Hispanic people don't speak Spanish.
Right.
But was it important for you?
My parents felt it was important for me to be able to communicate with them, with my grandparents, and I mean they were kind of foresighted. They thought language would be a useful thing to have.
Hello.
And so after my parents got back on their feet, all three of us were sent to Japanese language school on Saturdays, which we hated. I mean, all the other kids go to school for 5 days, and
why
do
are we in
have
school another day?
Sixth day when all my friends are out playing baseball? It was so unfair. We complained, but now I'm grateful because I wouldn't have been cast in this because there's a lot of Japanese dialogue,
a lot of subtitles.
However, for me as an actor, it was another challenge because the Japanese dialogue is written with an accent, Wakayama accent, the province from where they come. Like, if you're coming from Georgia,
right?
In the
It's
United
like a
States,
southern accent.
you talk
right,
like this, and how you doing? Oh, I'm doing all right. And when you're from Boston, you say, how you doing? Did you pack a cow over there? And so that's what's exciting for an actor, to be able to fill out the character, but I didn't know the Wakayama accent. Words are different, the rhythm is different, and so I had to work on that, and that was a lot of fun. So for that aspect was challenging and fun for me.
I feel like we're in a tale of two cities, almost like a period of time of great change, both good and bad, right? Representation,
The best of times, the
the
worst
worst
of
of times,
times.
yes. For you as an artist to see roles like this, I'm watching so many things now on television where I get to see myself in so
Mm-hmm,
many different
mm-hmm,
ways because
mm-hmm.
there's so many people now creating art and there's so many outlets from Hulu to Netflix to CBS, all that. You
Exactly.
know, there's no longer just one place.
We can
And
identify with what we see on the screen.
you're on AMC, which
AMC,
is the thing that
right?
brought The Walking Dead, made that
Exactly.
channel famous. For you as you started groundbreakingly on Star Trek, which it was a very short-lived series. People don't even realize it wasn't on for very
Three
long.
seasons.
Wasn't on, and you only
We,
did one and a half, I think, because you had another role. You
no,
did half a season, or the second season, I think.
the second season, I missed out on I think about 5 episodes because I was doing Green
Other work,
Berets,
right?
and I couldn't get back in time for the beginning of the second season. But each episode we announced at the beginning we're boldly going on
Where
a
no man,
5-year
right?
mission. Well, we fought all sorts of alien beings. Klingons were supposed to be the most destructive of them all, but we discovered that the more destructive one were the NBC programming
Uh oh.
executives. they cut that 5-year mission off in 3 missions, 3 seasons.
And now it's one of the most celebrated. It wouldn't be Comic-Con and all these other. I mean, Trekkies, or that's a thing. What?
53 years
Come
old.
on. And but for you being a Japanese, for Uhura, that was
Uhura.
Uhura.
Yeah,
What?
Uhura.
Takei.
No,
Uhura.
Sulu.
Sulu. No, I'm just getting all of the pronunciation. How important is this for you to have like both
Star
ownership,
Trek.
yeah, all of this?
I'm proud of my association with Star Trek, and I feel very lucky to have had a producer like Gene Roddenberry, because he was one of these persons who had a vision for the human future, very optimistic, utopian view. By the 23rd century, he thought that we would have a much more enlightened society. The Starship Enterprise was a metaphor for Starship Earth, and the strength of the starship lay in its diversity, coming together and working in concert as a team. And that was a metaphor for Starship Earth. And so visually, he wanted to get that infinite diversity and infinite combinations philosophy visible by casting the way he did. The captain was a white guy, representing North America. The engineer was a white guy representing Europe. The communications officer was an African and a woman as a chief communication officer. And there was this Asian character representing all of Asia. But the problem he had was finding a name for the Asian character, because every Asian surname is nationally specific. Tanaka is Japanese, Wong is Chinese, Kim is Korean, Dominguez is Filipino. And 20th century Asia was turbulent with warfare, colonization, rebellion, and he didn't want to take sides. He wanted to find an Asian name that suggested all of Asia. And so he had a map of Asia pinned on his wall in his office, and he was staring at it. And he found off the coast of the Philippines the Sulu Sea. And he said, the waters of a sea touch all shores. And that's how my character came to be, Sulu.
So
He was a
powerful.
visionary,
Yes.
and he thought deeply. And I feel blessed to have been cast in a show that was created by a man that had that kind of vision.
And I feel blessed to be in your presence. I'm so happy that I got to meet George Takei.
We live a blessed life, don't we?
Yes, we do, sir. Tell them again your book.
It's called They Called Us Enemy.
They Called Us Enemy. You also
And it's
have
on the New York Times bestseller
bestsellers
list in second place.
Come on,
It replaced
Oh, I love
The
that.
Mueller report.
Well, I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm not mad at it. I'm not
Well,
mad.
I'm the new kid on the
Listen,
block.
congratulations and Terror Infamy on AMC. It's an anthology. This is season 2. Check him out in that as
Monday
well.
nights at 9 p.m.
Monday nights at 9 p.m. George Takei.
AMC.
AMC. Terror. The Terror. Infamy. Thanks for being here.
A delight being with
You
you.
too. George Takei.
I
It's the Karen Hunter Show.
love the way you say it.
Man, I love you. We'll be right back. Oh, you're awesome.
Well, this was fun
Yeah.
and relevant.
So,
I mean, there's a whole different tone to this discussion.
and it could go on because, like, you have wisdom that people don't realize. You know, not just your experiences, but what you've been able to perceive from those. And then, because I wanted to ask you this whole thing because you're into Europe history and stuff, and I'm like, why?
Well,
Why?
You know, I was involved in this civil rights movement too. Back in the late 50s, I did Fly Blackbird, a bunch of college kids involved in the civil rights movement. And we were invited to sing at every civil rights rally in Los Angeles County. And the biggest of those rallies was the one at the LA Sports Arena, where the keynote speaker was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It was such an experience. We were asked to march in together with Dr. King into the sports arena, and his speech was inspiring.
Did you get to talk to him?
Yes. We were invited to meet Dr. King. After the rally, we were ushered down to the dressing room, and all of us got a chance to shake his hand and share a few words with him. It was such a thrill. And I tell people, this hand didn't get washed for about 3 days.
Well, that's kind of nasty, but
very
I,
unhygienic.
I receive all of that you're saying, and there's just so many things to live a free life and untethered to your terror is probably the greatest grace and blessing that you have.
Well, my father said the basic ideals of American democracy are noble. All men are created equal, equal justice under the law. This is a nation ruled by law. But it's people. People can do great things, but people are also fallible human beings. Our democracy is existentially dependent. In order to exist, it's dependent on people who cherish those ideals and actively participate in the process of self-government. And I kept saying, but daddy, you know, we have many.
Yeah, we were in a horse stable.
Yes.
They treated us like trash. Yeah.
And he said, let me show you how it's got to work. And one Sunday afternoon, he drove me downtown to the Adlai Stevenson for President campaign headquarters. And he threw me into that pit of passionate people dedicated to getting this great governor of Illinois elected. And I understood what it takes. And I got involved in all the other political campaigns, including, I lost with every one of the candidates I supported until I supported Tom Bradley for mayor of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And he asked me, he was our city councilman, and he asked me to be the chair of the Asian American Committee for Tom, and we won, and he appointed me to the Southern California Rapid Transit District Board, the transit district, and his mandate to us was to get started on building the first subway in Los Angeles.
Wow. Who do you have for 2020?
Right now?
Who are you supporting?
Well, just to ensure myself, I've donated money to...
Everybody?
No.
Oh.
Biden.
Okay.
But the one that I'm really excited by is Pete Buttigieg. Brilliant guy, Harvard graduate, Rhodes Scholar. We know something about Kamala. We're Californians.
Oh, what you know about her? Uh-oh.
She is cunning and she is calculating, and she... in the Japanese American community, we starting in the 20s, we've had a nonprofit for